the Bears, they just can't. The Bears can't buy a break, okay? And by that I mean this. The drafting of Mitchell Trubisky, as we all know, did not work out, okay? We all know that. And by the end of the day, the Trubisky signing didn't work out right from the get-go. There was one season in which it did wind up with a playoff season and a Coach of the Year season for their new head coach, Matt Nagy. That's when it kind of looked like maybe they've got something here. But even then, Bears fans were kind of like higher register. Hey, maybe we got something here. Maybe this guy from Andy Reid's staff is going to be able to cook this thing up, and we made the playoffs. And, it kind of stinks that, that they hit a couple of uprights. And Cody Parkey winds up on the Today Show the next day, and we got to cut his ass. And, I mean, just a cautionary tale for all kickers, that future misses in the playoffs. If you hang with Hoda Kotb, you're going to hear about it from just your employers.
That was aggressive.
I know that. I know you're a huge Hoda Kotb fan, and I just like dropping her name here on this show, just to hear if you're all listening. But even when, all that was working out for the Bears, you could even talk to Bears fans just wondering if this could actually be the case. And the reason why is you saw what Mahomes and Deshaun Watson were doing at the same time. That's the problem with the drafting of Trubisky, is it even in the year in which it was the highest watermark, we all saw what Mahomes looked like, and we all saw what Deshaun Watson had already looked like. Trubisky's year where he went to the playoffs was the year that Mahomes made the AFC Championship game and lost to Brady. Okay? So even with Trubisky making the playoffs, the guy who they didn't choose instead of him made it damn near to the Super Bowl in his first year as a starter. And we saw what Watson looked like the year before and what he was looking like that year. So that's kind of the problem. And then, as we all know, as Trubisky regressed and the other two got to be all world players, it made it look even worse. So that was the problem with the Trubisky drafting, essentially, in terms of the public relations, in terms of the ownership of a decision that Michael Wilbon, a part of the interruption 2 days ago, said would set the franchise back 10 years. We're now 4+ years into that decision, and we're halfway home. Now, obviously, you could turn that thing around, and that's the problem as well, is that the Trubisky decision gets made worse because you keep, if you're the organization, the team that made that choice in place to turn the page, and they turn the page. They try for Russell Wilson, doesn't work out. Literally, everybody in this business has heard from somebody associated with the Bears organization to tell you we tried. This is what we tried for, so on and so forth. But it makes the decision look even worse that you've kept the guy who made the wrong decision when they're like, hey, everybody, we're going to go into the first season without Trubisky, not turning the page with some bright, new, shiny object, although they could draft one, but not with some new, huge swing-for-the-fence acquisition, but with Andy Dalton, who, you need to go higher register to say, hey, you never know.
Yeah.
And then it's made even worse by the fact that Trubisky's next move makes all the other moves look even worse. Trubisky signs as a backup in Buffalo. And essentially, he not only signs as a backup, where another team that is on the ascent, another team that is viewed as having an idea about how to put a roster together and marry it to a philosophy, another team that almost made the Super Bowl this year decides your guy that you tried to turn into, say, Josh Allen, in terms of just accomplishments, not physical stature, but you tried with your top first-round choice to turn this guy into a dynamic franchise face that has a huge upside and is worthy of a 9-figure extension down the road sooner rather than later. You tried that. We evaluate him as a backup. And the rest of the league, I guess one would say, after Trubisky kicked the tires on the new league year, don't call it tampering window, and then the first few days of the new league year, the rest of the league, caused Trubisky to evaluate himself as this is my best option, is to be a backup quarterback. And on top of it, not just any backup quarterback for anyone, for someone who is just getting started on a dynamite perennial Pro Bowl career, not going anywhere, going to be in Buffalo for a very long time, is about to get paid. The only way Trubisky gets on that field for Buffalo to prove his worth as maybe a starter for your team in the NFL is if something totally disastrous happens to Josh Allen. And Mitchell Trubisky acknowledges that by signing on the dotted line. So put it all together. Trubisky's drafting was questioned from the start. Even when he is in a major ascent, makes a Pro Bowl, coach takes team to playoffs, should have, in quotes, won a playoff game at home, wins coach of the year. That's even taking a back seat to, well, he's not Mahomes or Watson either, is he? Based on what we're seeing for the first 2 years. Then there's a regression. Then they turn the page. They don't get the swing for the fence acquisition. They try, don't get him. Finish up by saying, well, here's our best option, two quarterbacks who you in Chicago know are definitely not Mahomes and Watson. And we're not even on the road to finding our next Mahomes and Watson. And the guy that you thought was better than Mahomes and Watson, when he does leave you, signs to be a backup for a kid that will never relinquish the job this decade unless something major unfortunate happens. And it looks like Trubisky just signed his first contract being a very well-paid and also higher register, hey, this guy can come in and win some football games for you type backup in the league. Sorry, Bears fans. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.